And welcome along to live coverage of the penultimate round of the Inside Line Racing League season. We are here at the Brazilian Grand Prix for ILR1 in the Xbox tier. I'm Ginger Andy, and joining me once again in the commentary box for this penultimate race, we have James here in Brazil. Are you ready for the samba, James? Are you dancing in the commentary box?
Yeah, of course I am. We've got all sorts going on. It's going to be a fantastic evening of racing once again, and just that vibe about Brazil. That's the atmosphere, which I think is absolutely fabulous about this. It's a fantastic country, providing 3 Formula 1 World Champions, if I'm not too much mistaken, and 3 real greats of the sport as well. But let's see what we've got in store around this famous Interlagos circuit.
Yep, it should be a cracking race, an 18-man grid. Even this late on in the season, everyone is ready to go to get down into action for what should be another cracking race. The cars out there on the racetrack, the super soft tyre largely in use at the moment here in qualifying for what is one of the shortest laps of the year, right up there with the likes of Austria and Canada and Mexico City. So yeah, it should be a fantastic race here in Brazil, and as always, James, the rain's never too far away here in Interlagos, isn't it?
Rain's never too far away. I think the most dramatic Brazilian Grand Prix has been decided when it has rained, other than, of course, in ILR last season, where lag was the issue, but or disconnect was the issue, I should say, for the last Brazilian Grand Prix we had. So hopefully we may get a bit of spice in the sense of rain and everything of the sort as well. But when it rains here, it pours. It doesn't drizzle, it pours. It's unbelievable. So hopefully we get to see just a bit of that here today.
Well, of course, the World Championship was wrapped up quite some time ago by the star of the season, Veloci Surprise. He is here, of course, again with us tonight. A quick word on him, James. I mean, first of all, actually, before we do, I must apologise for last week where you never got any listening from me. My mum quite literally threw my mic into the bin, and it sounds crazy, but it was thrown into the bin, and yeah, I'm now using a different mic. So let us know on the stream, give me some feedback. Is this mic okay or not? We've been doing a few things before we went live, which is why we're a little bit late, trying to make sure that it was okay, but let us know how it is. But yeah, James, back to Veloci Surprise. What a season it's been. He's been so strong, so consistent, and I can't wait to see how it shapes up next season, but he's got to be the man to beat, isn't he?
Has got to be the man to beat, but last time in Mexico, whilst Andy was knees deep in a bin, Veloci Surprise finished 6th on the road, so he didn't have the greatest of afternoons in Mexico, but it's definitely a sign of, you know, his worst result this year has been a 6th place finish, which just tells you everything, really does. He's just had such a good season. Consistency has been massive for him in winning this championship, because he has won a lot of races, but he's also done enough to just stay consistent, gain the points, gain the podiums where he can. So he hasn't retired this season either, which is another big factor for him to win the championship this season as well.
Yep, absolutely. A superb performance throughout. Interesting to see. What do you think? We're going to have any, you know, you sometimes get it at the end of a season when everything's quieting down. Do you think we could see a new winner this season? Someone that hasn't won a race yet? You know, I've seen surprises in the likes of Snazzy Evening winning a race back in Hungary, but he's proven since then that he really can compete at the front. Do you think we might see one of the Red Bull drivers getting a victory before the season's out? Because, you know, Martin's looked really strong recently, hasn't he?
Yeah, Martin's picked up the pace. He really has. He's turned on the style in many ways. I think the Red Bulls need to win this season. I think it's kind of crucial for them. They want to start next season in the best possible way, and the only way you can do that is by having a really good end to this season. Red Bull have been solid over the course of the entire season. They haven't had a win, so they'll be looking at that with keen eyes, and maybe with, I'm going to call it a regulation change. It's not strictly a regulation change, but the tyre temperatures now have been minimised. Not dramatically, but people have said to me, and people I've seen on Twitter have said the tyre temperatures are nowhere near as bad as what they were in recent races in Japan, for example. So that could play perhaps into the Red Bull favour. Let's see.
Yep, absolutely. The tyre, I mean, that has been the talk all week, hasn't it? It's dominated the build-up. Everyone talking about who's going to favour, who's going to give an advantage, who's going to give a disadvantage to. But I think the general consensus, James, is that those on the pad will gain a slight bit of an advantage. Well, not an advantage. Like they'll gain some performance against the wheel users, given that they're the ones that usually struggle with tyres and tyre temperatures. So it should, ease them a little bit closer towards the wheel, because we know the wheel's a lot quicker in general, isn't it?
Yeah, it should do. It should also make sure that Joe can finish a first stint on his softest compound of tyres. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting to see if he can manage that. He's currently on pole at the moment, it's Joe, with a 106.7. Be interesting. You're right. It'd be interesting to see how these guys actually fare. If it does play a massive part, from what I've heard from some drivers, this race it may not play a massive part because the tyre temperatures, simply because they're starting on the softest compound of tyre and the ballast they're running, actually won't play such a massive factor. But some races maybe Abu Dhabi might be a good example, maybe a good prerogative, as to see whether actually the tyre temperatures do vary if we do see a slight difference in performance from some drivers.
Yep, absolutely. Will be one to watch. I mean, a lot of talk has been going on as well about CRG Evo. Well, it's certainly something we can discuss. Evo, I know, has spoken out on Twitter saying he's not a fan of the change, from the patch. I know a number of drivers aren't a fan of it, but particularly Evo, we know he's so quick, we know he's so strong, but one of his main attributes has been his ability to save tyres, and that might take a chink off his armour, and that's disappointing, because I can understand his point, because he's right. I mean, why put the tyre simulation into the game and then try and nerf it a little bit, take it away? So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Evo bounces back, because when I mentioned it in the chat, the first thing he said was, just wait till Friday night, and that sounds like an Evo really fired up to prove that it's not affected him at all, James.
Absolutely, but Evo, as you say, is the best tyre. I think is the best tyre user on this game. I don't think there is anyone better than him at managing his tyres. He is 100% the best on this game at doing that. So for that reason, I want to see what he's actually like now with this new, almost, we'll call it quote-unquote regulation. We'll see what he's able to do. Is how hard can he push and for how long for? He may have actually more of an advantage compared to everyone else, because if he was really good at managing his tyres, now we can burn them away and still be able to manage them. In many ways, it's like the temperatures aren't going to play that big a deal for him, because he knows how to manage his tyres regardless. So actually he could be even faster. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to see how it pans out, whether Brazil will have a telling factor or not. We'll wait and see. But with 6 minutes to go in this qualifying session, everyone out there at the moment using the super soft tyre, as OMG It's Joe is currently the quickest man at 1 minute 6.7. He's a fraction quicker than CRG Simon and a tenth quicker than Veloci Surprise. But in general, look at that. The top 5 drivers at the moment, James, covered by just 1/10 of a second. And look at that, TRL Martin right in there again and showing some strong pace. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, showing some good pace, and the super soft tyres are where it is at for this Grand Prix. Many guys will switch on to the mediums towards the end. Martin's, I believe, is just about to go onto a lap. So let's ride on board with Martin over the course of this lap into turn 1. Very off-camber corner, the centre S as you fly through turn 2 and turn 3 as well. Just flat out through here now as we head down towards the end of the first sector, and it's just a difficult braking point, having to throw the car in. Don't want to go too wide on exit through there. It does get the car a little bit unsettled over the curb as we race up towards this long right-hander. Again, it's very deceiving, this one. You want to carry as much speed as you possibly can. You're nearly flat on the exit. You have to lift off on entry. Through here, once again, major locking of the right front wheel, as you would expect. So slingshot their way up towards the second part of the circuit now, with the infield section and towards the end of the second sector. And he's this part is almost flat out. You want to go as wide as possible on entry here. Although it's a 90-degree corner, you don't want to mess it up. Take as much curve on the inside and outside as you possibly can on the run up towards the main straight. Let's see where Terrell Martin will go.
Yep, here comes Terrell Martin round that final corner and down towards the start-finish straight. He's going to take the shortest route to the line. Martin goes second quickest. Oh, well, we spoke about it at the top of the show. Are we going to see a first-time winner this season from one of the Red Bulls? Perhaps we are. Martin moves on to the front row, a tenth away from Joe, but he is threatening the top of the timesheets, and I can't wait to see how this qualifying shapes up. We could have any number of cars fighting for the victory today, perhaps 6 or 7, as CRG Simon now goes quickest of all with a 1 minute 6.5 as the times continue to tumble. OMG It's Joe, is he on a quick lap? He's going to come into the pits. So Martin going again. Veloci Surprise, half a tenth down on his current best. going through Jianxiao at the top, at the bottom of the hill, as he now winds his way up the hill into the Williams car and down towards the start-finish straight. His Veloci Surprise, the reigning champion, about to snatch away provisional pole. No, he's not. He stays P4, but things getting pretty interesting at the top of the timesheets, aren't they, James?
Absolutely, he's going to be leaving it very, very tight indeed. Surprise if he is going to get another lap done in this qualifying session. He's only got 3 minutes to go to come into the pits and bolt on the new lap tires and come out again and then do a lap. So he's got a lot to play for. A lot of the guys actually are on circuit at the moment, perhaps doing their final runs. One of which is the Mercedes of Snazzy Evening, who is sizing himself up for a final lap.
Yep, on board with Snazzy Evening right now as he winds up for a late run in the session. Of course, as we mentioned earlier on, a winner for the first time in the series back in Hungary. He was a late comer to ILR1 this season, but he has shown as the season's progressed. He's got stronger and stronger, and he really is one to watch. Let's go on board with the Mercedes as he swoops downhill through the Senna S and up through that long sweeping left of turn 3, where many cars in the real life event back in 2003 came to grief in the heavy rain. Interestingly, Veloci Surprise is retired from the session, so 4th at best for him. So he's going to have his work cut out over the course of this race. There's no doubt about that. 4th is not what he would have been hoping for, as we now watch Snazzy Evening sweep through this long right-hander and into a tricky braking zone, and to another right-hander, then sweeping back down the hill through the left. I don't know about you, James, but I sometimes get a little bit of deja vu on this circuit, because you sweep downhill, uphill, and then back downhill and uphill again, don't you?
Yeah, the undulations here are mega. It's such a quote-unquote hilly circuit. There's so much. The undulation is crazy. So these guys will be really tested to limits it through there, and that's why we see a lot of wheel locking as well, just because of the nature of that kind of circuit. But interesting as well, CRG Simon has also bailed out. He's not going to be able to improve on his current pole time, but that could soon change because the Ferrari of Joe is across the line, or will begin his flying lap in a few moments' time.
Yep, absolutely. Evo as well, about to start his flying lap. So here comes CRG Evo across the start-finish line, and he begins a lap. So Snazzy Evening will be ahead on the road. He'll be the first man to get the time on the board. He should have time for another lap, Snazzy, but given he's already done one, he might run out of fuel. So that's one to watch. Simon, a 1 minute 6.5. It's not a moving target. He isn't going to be out there going for another lap. It is set in stone. But Joe, Martin, Evo, Snazzy, Limitless, they can all bet at it. Murso as well, doing a good job in P8. And Bastic, ever since filling in for Holland, it's like the biggest like-for-like change you can imagine. Still, Murso was glued to his teammate. And it's great to see Bastic filling in and doing just as well, if not better, than Holland did earlier on in the season. So Martin on his outlap, Joe on 1, Evo on 1, Snazzy as well. Let's go to Snazzy first. He's climbing the hill and he's a half tenth up on his previous bet. So Snazzy Evening fancies his chances of going a little bit quicker and moving himself up on the grid. Snazzy Evening for the line. Where's he going? He stays P6. He only found 2,000ths over the course of the whole lap. Now CRG Evo sweeping down the hill for the line. Where does Evo go? He stays P5. Incredible. A real lack of improvements from those guys. We wait for Limitless. He comes to the line now, and he remarkably sees the flag and stays P7. So it's a stalemate at the moment. But here comes OMG, it's Joe. No, he's backed out of his latest lap. So will Martin be the man to steal the show here in qualifying, James?
He could well do as well. Looks like quite a good effort from him in the first sector or so, keeping it nice and tidy through that right-hander. As I said before, you do seemingly knock that right front wheel through there. He's got a massive chance here, Martin, of taking pole position and his first of the season.
Yes, well, OMG, it's Joe, retired, Simon, retired, Surprise, Evo, Snazzy, Limitless has seen the flag, so this is it, centre stage for TRL Martin. We said it at the start of the stream. Are we going to see a surprise winner? Are we going to see a first-time winner this season? Well, pole position would go a long way to doing it. Martin for the line, he's on the front row. He's a fraction away from stealing the pole position. What a story it would have been. But he's on the front row, and he's only 7,000 slower than CRG Simon. Boy, oh boy, James, we have got a race on our hands here. What a session.
Brilliant session. To be honest, 7 thousandths of a second, you could only measure that on a ruler. It's so close. It's ridiculous. I don't even know just how close you can say, other than being 7 thousandths, of course, that's ridiculous. It's where can you find 7 thousandths of a second? That is the fractional gains you need in this league. And Sergio Simon starts from pole ahead of Martin on the front row. Joe starts from third on the grid ahead of Veloce Surprise from fourth, who was very lucky in the end to start on the second row. Evo from fifth ahead of Saturday Evening on row three. Limitless and Morso make up row four. Good day in the office once again for the Haas. He's had a really good last few races as Morso. Baztek in ninth ahead of Rosberg 10th. Jork will start from 11th. Drelix, Melanie, Reynolds, the Bacon Yum, Beef Thomas, and the Amazement starts from the very back of the field. But crazy, crazy session once again.
Up the text, starting down in P18. That might actually mirror their league position. I'm not too sure. I want to check that. They might be 18th in the league. Yeah, anyway, I don't want to remind them of that, how poorly they're doing in the league. But anyway, yes, great session, as you say, James. I really, really enjoyed it. Now, you also mentioned there, Murso doing a good job in the Haas. I mean, we've seen we've seen Martin there really start to progress over the last couple of races and move himself nearer to the front. How far away do you think we are from seeing the two Haas drivers on a regular basis breaking into that top 6 or 7 drivers?
Difficult to tell, really, but I think America was probably that was a race of real intent. I mean, if they were going to do anything, America was a really good chance for the Haas team. I think genuinely, more so, and Baztek, rightfully so, do have the pace sometimes. I just want to see it. It's the qualifying, I think, that lets more so and Baztek down, because their race pace is brilliant, but they just can't get together in qualifying. A similar scenario for that of the Red Bulls as we head towards the formation lap.
Yeah, well, could you just imagine? I mean, a race like this today, I mean, there really are anyone in the top 6, 7 drivers you could fancy to have a chance here today. And I just love to see those two Haas drivers get themselves involved more often. As you say, in the US, they really showed some great pace. And, you know, Murso himself back in France, what a race he had there. Nearly put the car right up and amongst the top drivers. So, yeah, great to see them doing another solid job. But I think the big story of qualifying is to see TRL Martin doing so strongly. And, you know, we spoke so often about Red Bull struggling in qualifying pace, but today, Martin was superb, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's the first, it's probably, dare I say, Red Bull's best qualifying of the season for one of their drivers, because that's a mega effort to become 7 thousandths off of pole position. They have been higher up in the grid this season, with both of them higher up, but genuinely, just how close he was, Martin. That would have been their first pole of the season, which is quite crazy. Really is crazy to think that the guys of this nature haven't had a pole this season.
Yep, it just shows you how strong this league is. The strongest in terms of pace on Xbox, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, here we go. The race is about to begin. Remember what happened to TRL Martin last season here. He could have won the championship. He was about 3, perhaps 4 miles from championship glory. It all fell apart when the tyre carcass blew up. Is this his moment for redemption? Daniel Ricciardo drove a Red Bull at Monaco and got his redemption after a poor year at Monaco. Now, can Martin deliver the same redemption here for Red Bull and deliver and earn a victory? His first of the season to hit the ground running going into next season in style. There are plenty of drivers who could stop him out there. Simon starts from pole. We've got Joe in third, Surprise in fourth, arguably Surprise out of position, Evo arguably out of position as well. This has got all the makings of a gloves off end of season cracker as all the cars line up in the grid and we get ready to go racing here in Interlagos. It's the penultimate round of the championship. It's ILR1, it's Xbox, it's underway here in Brazil. It's a good start from Simon. Martin moving alongside into turn 1, but he can't quite find the space. Simon will lead them through there. Round the outside goes OMG, it's Joe. It's a wonderful move from Joe. He gets a big slide and he's going round. Is he going into a spin? Into the path of the other drivers. There's a huge accident there. Off goes Joe, Melanie and Jork also involved, and that is a disastrous start to the race. Melanie and Joe coming to grief at the first corner, James.
Tyres were too cold going through turn 3 there. He tried to go around the outside into 3. It's never going to work on these cold tyres. He had a great run on Martin coming out the first corner. Couldn't quite get the move done. Martin slightly bogged down off the line. But awful start there for a safety car is being deployed. Virtual safety car. But yes, absolutely. Great start from Simon in the end. The initial launch is pretty even between those two. But Martin just couldn't pull alongside and get that move done.
Yeah, wow, what a hectic start to the race Joe, as you say, perfect getaway on the outside, lit up the tyres though on the exit of turn 3, or turn 2, going into turn 3, and to begin with, it looked like he was going to avoid it all, but his car just slewed across the track, and it was just a matter of time before he collected a car, and it was Melanie who was the unfortunate victim, and that melon has been squashed. Throw it in the bin. He is out of the race.
Here goes
we get back
Martin.
racing again. And here goes Martin down the outside of Simon, right round the outside. He's going to try and do what Joe did on the opening lap. He can't quite do it, and Simon holds on. But Martin, well, he caught me by surprise. I didn't see it ended. Martin is well tuned up and ready for this race. Simon defends the inside. Here comes Martin again round the outside. He can't quite do it, but this is a superb start to the race. And Surprise nearly pulls himself alongside. Goodness me, this is breathless. Now Evil on the outside of Surprise, trying to do a move I seen in Season 1 on the PS4 all those years ago. Now he's on the inside of Surprise, having a look, but he can't quite do it. And this is what we love about the end of the season, when the championships decided. They love taking risks, they're all going for glory, and this is a hectic start to the race, James.
Absolutely it is. We've seen McLaren try that in the past in the form of Button against Alonso back in 2011, but my goodness me, if he'd have pulled that off on the world champion, it would have been something special from the German. He's still all over the back on that Williams, but Martin looking racy on these first few laps. He's really got a chance of a great result here today, and that Red Bull looks properly fired up. He is ready to take the fight for this one.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. He looks like a wounded animal, furious about what happened here last season, and he's aiming to put it right as they go down the hill through turns 1, 2 and 3. It's still Simon from Martin, from Veloce Surprise, the reigning champion, and CRG Evil in 4th. Snazzy Evenings 5th, TRL Limitless is 6th, up to 7th is WROR Morsel, and now splitting the Haas cars, we have Rosberg in B8. The biggest winner on the opening lap was Thomas. I believe he claimed 7, if not 8 places, so a great start. Yes, 7 places gained for Thomas, so a really good getaway from him, James.
Yeah, great start from him. He was the only one outside the top 10 to start on the super soft tyres, and he's managed to make that work in many ways because he had a bolting getaway in the Ferrari, not being able, though, to, well, his teammate won't be as happy as maybe Thomas is here, but brilliant start nonetheless from the reserve Ferrari driver. But here we go again. DRS enabled, as we know, and he needs a good run coming out this final corner.
Yep, here comes Martin running up the hill. Evo's a little bit closer to Surprise, and I think we'll maybe go to that one. Let's keep an eye on Evo. Is he going to get close enough to make a move into turn 1? Simon still pouring his advantage. They all stream across the start-finish line into the first corner, all in a line. It could be one of those races where it goes right down to the wire. It could be all about the pit stop phase. Who can break the DRS by pitting early or pitting late, avoiding the traffic? Because at the moment, I can't see how anyone's going to have the pace to break the DRS train at the moment, James. We know how powerful the DRS is around a racetrack like this.
Absolutely. I think Martin may be running slightly lower wings than his counterpart at German ahead of him, of Simon. It feels like Simon is actually gaining a massive advantage under braking and through the middle sector as well. So I think Martin's just betting on the fact that he's got pure straight line speed in that Red Bull to help him along with DRS and hopefully get past that McLaren.
Yeah, not often we talk about a Red Bull with straight line speed, or a McLaren for that matter. But yep, Martin set the car up well, and looking like he could be a threat here. Oh, Snazzy. Oh, is he off? Yes, he's wide. He's way off the track. And rejoins. Oh, I think he paused the game there when he rejoined, and he drops all the way down to P8 as a result. We've got yellows in sector 3. Why is that? Because now all of a sudden Mercel's ahead of Limitless, and he's up into P6 now. Meanwhile, there's a move into turn 1 as the Surprise on the inside of Martin, and he's found the gap, he's found the space, and he is through. It's all happening all of a sudden, and is this the moment that Simon tries to break out beyond a second? So Martin caught napping, and he drops down to P3. Now Evo gets in the slipstream. He fancies having a look at Martin, and we know Evo likes them vulnerable, and with Martin just being overtaken, there was every possibility he could have made the move, but it wasn't to be, and Surprise is up into P2. Evo stays P4.
It could be a good thing actually for Martin just to stay behind Surprise at this stage of the race in many ways, just maybe drag him along a little bit, and maybe that way they can work together to pass Simon ahead of them. So it may not be a bad thing for Martin to be here where he is at the moment in P3. He's still got a good chance in this Grand Prix, and the undercut I'd imagine could be quite powerful around here. Pit lane isn't that fast, so it's going to be one to watch, I think. But back to that Limitless incident with Snazzy Evening. Snazzy Evening went so deep into the corner, barged the Red Bull out of the way, and then Morse thought, well, I'm going to pick up the pieces here, and took those two in quick time, really. And now he's 1.5 seconds behind more so. Snazzy Evening ahead of him. Quite mad, really.
Yeah, incredible. A bit of a series of events that happened there. I was trying to catch up with what was going on, but Snazzy Evening sliding off the road. It hurt Limitless and through went Moore, so no second invitations as Evil now lines up Martin. As Martin beginning to struggle a little bit. Veloci Surprise just about clinging on within DRS range to Simon, and that is exactly what he needs to do at this stage of the race as Evil is looking hungry, really racy behind TRL Martin. Is he going to think about a move in the middle sector? There's not much opportunity in that middle sector, and he sits in behind for now. You've got to say, James, the best opportunities are into turn 1 and turn 4, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, absolutely. The middle sector is, you're going to be very, very brave if you're going for an overtake through there. And not this time for Evo, but he has got some great momentum in that middle sector at times. It's going to be close between him and Martin. I feel like the whole race. I feel this could be a race-long battle, but the one which also should be kept an eye on is between Veloce Surprise and Simon. This is going to start heating up massively between these two, and we've seen them lock horns one too many times this season. Hopefully we see it for another occasion as well here today.
Absolutely, it really is hotting up to be a cracking Brazilian Grand Prix. We've really enjoyed the opening 7 laps. We're just over 1/6 race distance, so plenty more excitement to come along the way, and not least coming from CRG Evo as he's now tucked right up behind that Red Bull of TRL Martin, but thankfully Martin just about at the moment clinging on to the DRS to the 2 cars in front. Now, does Evo want to play it clever here? Oh, is it Limitless? Is he through? Yes, he's ahead of Murso. Just caught the tail end of that, and Limitless has got himself ahead of WOR Murso and back up into that 6th place. 2.5 seconds to make up to Snazzy Evening, but if the guys keep fighting up ahead, he could close that gap, couldn't he?
He could indeed. Snazzy Evening's kind of lucky in that sense to be where he is. How he managed, I'm not too sure how he managed to gain that 2.5 seconds. If we're going to be completely honest with you, I'm not too sure, but he's just going to have to do his best now because that train should allow Tyrrell Limitless to close up.
I'm not too sure what's happened with Snazzy Evening at all there. Must have been some sort of desync. I've just caught that coming there. So I don't know what's going on. Someone complaining about a high pitch coming through the mic. I'm not too sure about it. It's a new mic. We had to change it as my last mic got put in the bin last week. So apologies for any issues with the mic as CRG Evil has a look up the inside of TRL Martin into turn 1. There was no way through and he remains in as they were in P3 and P4, but at the moment Surprise now gaining on Simon again, Martin and Evo gaining back in on the front 2. Maybe it's best for Martin and Evo not to battle and keep themselves in touch with the guys in front. Do you think that's the idea at the moment, James?
That is kind of what that is how they should probably approach it. In many ways, it's like a go-kart race. In a go-kart race, you have to pull each other along in order to catch the guy ahead. It's not almost like NASCAR as well in many ways. I hate to use those dreaded words, but it is in that sense just trying to pull the car behind so you give yourself the opportunity to get past the cars in front. And I saw it so many times, even last week commentating on a karting race, how they work in bunches just to be able to close on the carts ahead. And in this sense, these guys should be trying a similar fate here today. So let's see if Veloce Surprise is going to be close enough on this occasion. He's only half a second behind Simon. With DRS wide open, it'll be close between these two.
Tell you who's even closer though, CRG Evil, right behind Martin, and this is going to be easy peasy on the inside into turn 1, and Martin isn't even going to defend the inside. Surely Evil should get the run and should be braking later on the brakes. Yes, he is. He's through up into P3. No time lost there at all for either driver, although I say that, they're actually 1 second adrift of the front 2. So is this the moment where the race breaks up ever so slightly? We'll have to wait and see. Another thing we'll need to watch for is the undercut. You could argue that Martin and Evo are close enough to come in a lap early and threaten taking even the lead away here. So Simon and Surprise really need to be on the ball, don't they?
They do need to be on the ball, and I'd imagine the pit stop window is not too far away now. I think it'll only be a couple of laps before these guys make that pit stop onto those medium tyres. And that'll be one to watch when they do decide to come in. If I'm Martin, I'm thinking maybe I've got to gamble. I've got to gamble because you've got these 3 guys ahead of you. They are very, very quick, and they look like they've got a lot more pace than he does at the moment. So perhaps doing that undercut may gain him a bit of an advantage here because he is slightly starting to fall into the mid-drifts of the pack, and now falling into the mid-drifts of Snazzy Evening in the Mercedes.
Yep, that's the last thing I want to do. Martin dropped down any further, but he has, without doubt, put in a fine performance so far in this race. A Surprise now moves right within range behind Simon. 3/10 between them. The world champion is flexing his muscles here in Brazil and in Sao Paulo, the home of the samba. He's about to try and dance his way up the inside of Simon, but he's not going to be close enough on this occasion. This could be key for the race with a 1.2 cushion over Ivo at the moment. If these two start fighting, they will invite the likes of Ivo, Martin and Snazzy back into it, won't they?
Ivo's got a lot of clear space ahead of him, really, to play with. He can manage his tyres the way that he'd like to. And he's pulling away from Martin. There's a move getting made here. Thomas and Rosberg side by side into the right-hander. Rosberg on the inside of the Ferrari. Can he stop? He can indeed, but can he hold Rosberg around the outside? Oh, Rosberg still trying here in the Williams. Can't quite get the move done. He may have the inside for the next corner. Goes and shoots that Williams down the inside. Can't get the move done. Hips don't lie in Brazil, and Thomas stays ahead of the Williams for now.
Well, I'm not too sure. Was Thomas making a move there? I'm not sure. He was behind Rosberg earlier. It could have been the other way around, and if it was the other way around, James, that would have been an absolutely astonishing move. So, but yeah, we're not too sure. But yeah, Thomas ahead of Rosberg, or whatever way you look at it, it was absolutely epic racing, wasn't it? As Snazzy Evening is in the pits, and he's trying the undercut as Thomas and Rosberg try again into turn one. Light contact between them, but Thomas holds on for now. Great racing, pardon me, once again. Goodness me, that Chinese is coming up.
Here goes Rosberg again, then on the outside as we head towards turn 4. And can he get the move done this time on the Ferrari? They're side by side into turn 4. Right around the outside goes Rosberg, and he still can't find a way through against that Ferrari, who's sat there like a brick wall at the moment, just doing everything he can to hold on to his 8th place in this race.
Yep, great racing. I'm enjoying the action between those two. We've not seen much of the midfield so far in this race, so it's refreshing to head down there and have a look. And as usual, they are not disappointing. How is Snazzy Evening getting on the outlap? He's fitted those fresh medium tyres. He's got 1.1 seconds worth of clean air. So he's came out onto the track. The next man up the road from him is the Amazement. We've lost EVR Reynolds. We've lost the Bacon Yum. We lost Melanie and Joe on the opening lap in a big accident between the two. Any of the front guys coming in, no sign of Simon, no sign of Surprise. Evo, Martin, Limitless, they're all staying out, but Bastic in P7 has come into the pits. So let's keep an eye on how he gets on. But Surprise getting really close to Simon, and can Snazzy Evening make up the ground he needs? Because he's going to have at least a 2-lap undercut on the cars in front, James.
Yeah, he is, and that's interesting. It really is, because we want to see what sort of advantage he's going to make potentially from pitting that early on here. He could well find himself actually quite close to Baztec. No, Baztec's going to be a bit too far behind, and the Amazement moves out of the way of Snazzy Evening, who finds himself now into P11. He's got a lot of clean air, some 7.3 seconds. This is where he needs to get the hammer down in that Mercedes to really take the fight to all of those guys ahead of him in the top 3. All 4.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Surprisingly, Evo, Surprise gets a big slide going on there, going down the hill. And Simon still within range, though Evo dropping back to nearly 2 seconds behind this duo. So Evo struggling for pace at this stage of the Grand Prix, and Surprise and Simon are coming into the pits together. So it's going to be a race between the mechanics as they head down the pit lane. This is why the mechanics practice so much over the winter on Thursdays at race weekends to get these crucial moments right. Into the pits comes Surprise. Into the pits has come Martin. They've all poured into the pits. Limitless has carried on, of course, because his teammates in, as has Evo. And coming out ahead just by the skin of his teeth is Surprise. But the big question we want to know is, where is Snazzy Evening? He's going round the first corner now. Are Surprise and Evo, Surprise and Simon well ahead? I think they are. Yes, they are indeed. There they go, out onto the track. Simon, Surprise, and then Snazzy Evening actually around 3.5 seconds off the back of them, James.
Yeah,
he's ahead of Martin.
Yeah, he's jumped Martin. That's pretty big in this race then. So gets ahead of him. The undercut has worked for one driver, but now will the overcut work for Evo? Because he's got to be pulling off an absolute stonking lap here if he's going to stay ahead of these guys ahead of him, technically on circuit in the form of Simon and Surprise, but they're so close on circuit still, those two. Just 7/10 between them. And that's what's going to be interesting. Let's see then. Evo comes into the pits. How close will he be then? So the technically top 2.
I think this big worry is more about whether Snazzy and Martin jump him or not. That's the big thing here for Evo, isn't it? Surely. Because Snazzy is nearly, 3 seconds ahead of Martin. Surely it's a certainty that he's going to get the jump. But we need to go to Surprise, because Surprise is very close to Simon going into turn 1. He's not close enough to make a move, and he stays behind. So it's Simon now from Surprise. Evo on pit exit. Where's he going to be in relation? We'll find out in a minute. We need to watch Surprise though, who's right behind Simon as they run down towards the Esquina do Lago. Is he going to have a look? He's not going to make the move, but Evo was just by the skin of his teeth ahead of Snazzy Evening, who dives up the inside and makes an aggressive lunge and gets the move done on Evo. Aggressive stuff there from Snazzy, but he's made it work and is back ahead of CRG Evo, and that was brave, it was brilliant, and he's up to P3.
Absolutely, had to get his elbows out there, did Snazzy Evening. We've seen those two come into blows in the past. Russian Grand Prix, of course. We saw them get into some little issue there, but it's a great move in the end from Snazzy Evening. Does everything he needed to do, and he had to do that. He had to stay ahead of Evo, get ahead of Evo in the McLaren, and now he's got to really start pushing that Mercedes even more on some older tyres compared to the rest, and he's got a major, well, you could say major disadvantage in many ways to the car behind him, because we know just how good Evo is on his tyres.
Yep, here comes Veloci Surprise now though, again onto the back of CRG Simon, trying a move into the first corner, can't quite do it, and he remains tucked up behind him. So Simon from Surprise, now Snazzy Evening is starting, he's pulled out a 1 second advantage over Evo. Could that be down to the difficulties in heating up the medium compound tyre perhaps? Not too sure, but Evo with work to do in P4, then it's Martin P5, the Amazement out of sync in P6, then Limitless just a fraction ahead of the two Haas drivers who really are making his life difficult out there today, aren't they? Again, knocking on the door of the big 6 or 7 cars, just not quite able to break their way in on a consistent basis.
Yeah, more so than Limitless have had their real tough times this season in the sense of they've always been with each other at certain Grand Prix. They've just been very close to each other in terms of pace. So it's great to see that there's remaining that great squabble between them. Baztek, though, is right up behind them as well. He's also begun to join the fray in this whole Limitless more so squabble, so he'll be one to watch in the next few laps. But let's see what Veloci Surprise can do with a bit of DRS on Simon ahead of him. I don't think he's going to be close enough into turn 1, but that, you know, we've seen some shockers in the past.
Yep, here he comes, gaining. He's not going to be close enough as Simon sets a brand new fastest lap of the race. Let's shuffle back to TRL Limitless, who is behind the Amazement. He's going to try and put a car between himself and the two Haas drivers, and he should be able to do that into turn 1. He does indeed. Through goes Limitless ahead of the Amazement into P6. So a tidy move there, but Surprise gaining again, isn't he?
Yeah, he is indeed. It's just the case of that middle sector. His front tyres, as much as the heat in the tyres have changed a little bit, the simulation has changed a little bit on the heat of the tyres in terms of, obviously, we know what we're going for here. Point is, the middle sector is going to be quite difficult for him to just negotiate sitting behind another car. That doesn't change. It's still going to be very difficult on the front tyres for him. So he's just going to have to stick on in there. He's going to really have to eke out these front tyres because it's not going to be easy. But let's see what he can do. With a bit of DRS, he may just keep within tabs of him, but he needs good pace. Simon's got a bit of a wobbly moment coming out of the penultimate corner here, and this could allow Surprise in.
I tell you what, an even closer battle. Evo right in the rear end of Snazzy Evening, and he's surely going to make this move. Going down towards turn 1, down the outside he goes. Snazzy covers the inside. Lovely helicopter shot as we watch Evo try and make a majestic move round the outside of Snazzy Evening. Leaves him standing still, and that's revenge for Snazzy, overtaking him after he exited the pits a few laps ago, and through he goes. But Snazzy ain't finished. We know he's a fighter. He's coming back for more into Esquina de Lago. Round the outside he goes, touching wheels the pair, but Evo wins the war and is up into P3 ahead of Snazzy Evening. Great racing again between these two. Great respect shown right on the limit, but Evo comes out on top and takes P3 away.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff between these two. Evo managing to hold it all the way around the outside into turn 1 and the inside of turn 2, the outside of turn 3, but then the DRS was back in Snazzy's favour and he made the most of it, or did he? Because he didn't quite get ahead of the McLaren of Evo, but it's great stuff, it's great to see. Let's see then if Snazzy can just get that similar run to what Evo had on the previous lap.
Yeah, well, Snazzy going to try and get himself close enough, but half a second just looks a little bit too much if he's going to try anything. We'll see if he can do it though. He's in mode 4, that is code for overtake, so is he going to be able to put that to good use? Doesn't look like it on this occasion. He might gain, but it won't be enough to try and move, as the front two really have opened out a big advantage now over the rest of the pack, haven't they?
Yeah, they have indeed. 5.5 seconds or thereabouts between them and the rest at the back. That's pretty astounding. Well, just before the pit stop window had been opened, really these guys were so close to each other. There was only a couple of seconds between the top 6 or so, and it's really started to weak out now. It's a 5.3 seconds, and these two really have at times this season been the class of the field. And it may even be another good day in the office for McLaren. They've had a couple of good days in the office recently. Could be another one here today. But surprise, we'll try and make sure that that won't happen, of course, in the Williams. There is still a constructors' battle going on. 40 points between McLaren and Williams. So there are big points to be gained here. And Williams will want to stay on top.
It's like a flashback to the 80s and 90s. McLaren versus Williams in the championship. You've got to be joking. They're getting knocked out in Q1 these days. But yep. That's it, ILR, we're rolling back the years here in this tier this season. McLaren versus Williams, but surprise is really close this time, getting into turn 1. Not enough though to make any kind of move, but I've got to say, James, going down the hill, if he gets a good run out of the Senna S, he could be making a move this time round.
He could well be indeed. Simon got a bit of a hairy moment out of turn 2. I don't think it's close enough, but there's a traffic ahead of him. Beefer's right in the middle of the road. Simon had to dart out of the way there just to avoid him. It was almost a Jos Verstappen Martin Brundle moment all those years ago. And goodness me, that was close between those guys. It wasn't even an AI car. He just sat in the middle of the road there.
Strange, really strange. You know, it's one of those ones where you just don't know what way to go. Beefer's part in the middle of the road. You go left, you go right. What's he thinking? What are you thinking? But thankfully, both the leaders of the race come out of it unscathed and make their way through and carry on their way. It is lap 19 out of 36. Simon leads just ahead of Surprise in second. Evil 4.8 off the tail of them in third, ahead of Snazzy Evening, Martin and Limitless. What do you make of Martin in the race then? He's just dropped a little bit of pace that he had from qualifying, which is a little shame, but he's still going strong, isn't he?
He is indeed getting aggressive and surprised to get close again. But yeah, Martin had a really good start, to be honest. His aggression was there, and you just thought he's going to have a real good fight for this one. He just couldn't quite keep it all together on those super soft tyres, though, and that's kind of what's done him this Grand Prix. And now he's having to settle, it seems, for 5th place. He's 2.4 seconds behind Snazzy Evening, so he's still got a chance of some good points, but it's not maybe where he'd have liked with being, considering he started on the front row.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what might have been for Martin, just couldn't quite find that raw speed. He is still ahead of his teammate by around 3 seconds at the moment. We have lost Beefer from this race. We've lost ILR Reynolds, the Bacon Yum. Not too sure about those three, but certainly a hefty hit for the Squashed Melon and OMG It's Joe on the opening lap. I mean, it didn't look like there was anywhere for Melanie to go. We don't get the benefit of replays, but it certainly looked like a potentially a sore one for the two of them if it was real life, because it was a hefty hit.
It was indeed. It was kind of similar to that of David Coulthard, I believe, back in 2008. Had a slight off moment down there at turn 2 and 3, and his final ever appearance in Formula 1. Yeah.
I cried that day. As a Scotsman, it was a bad thing to see him and Nakajima continue their collision course down there. It really was a shame. But less said about that, the better, James. The less said, the better. Can we talk about Coulthard in 2001 making a move on Schumacher with the Minardi in the middle? Can we talk about that one here?
It's turn 1.
I like this. Yeah, come on, let's talk about that. Happier times for a Scotsman. Or we can talk about Jenson Button winning the championship here. We know you're a JB fan.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But that's great moments, of course. We can reminisce about great moments around this fantastic. The Fernando Alonso overtake on Massa and Webber in 2012. How can we forget that? What an incredible move that was. But we're not seeing quite the amazing overtakes of those here today, but we're certainly seeing some great action. And Martin staying there in 5th. We're seeing the battle between Surprise and Simon at the front as well. It's just still 0.5 of a second. It's seemingly Surprise having to back off that little bit just so he can save his ERS and then bolt again and go on a spear-mounted attack on that McLaren ahead of him.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle, isn't it, between these two? I mean, you know, there's so much in the modern F1 games to take note. Usually, or it used to be on the first Codemasters game, F1 2010, you know, no DRS, nothing like that, no cares, nothing. No ERS, you know, it was just pure racing. Now there's so many toys at their disposal. They've got the DRS and you know, they've got the ERS as well. Now looking at it, Simon at the moment, he's got about 44% of his battery. Surprise has got about 60%. So is Surprise trying to drain his rival out and go for a late move at the finish? What do you think, James?
He could well be trying that. It's a risky option though, because of course his tyres are going to go off a little bit faster than Simon's ahead of him, naturally, because of the grain you get when you're following another car. But for him now, it's just a case of, well, when does he make this overtake? He's got the pace. These two are so level on pace, or else they wouldn't be this close. So he's got to be thinking, when can he get that move done? He takes such an odd line coming into the corner. He's always got two wheels over the grass as he heads into the left-hander, where of course Raikkonen went, well, he got lost. He found himself in Argentina, really. But here goes Surprise on Simon. They're getting very close this time. Will Surprise go for the move into turn one? Thinks better of it in the Williams, but he's starting to reel in. That McLaren is starting to heat up once again in Brazil, and the hips will be dancing once again as they head down towards turn four.
Still no sign of a move, but he's certainly getting closer, and he's certainly beginning to wind it up in that Williams car. Is he thinking about a move anytime soon? This is the hottest battle on the circuit at the moment between the two leaders. It's Simon ahead at the moment, ahead of Veloci Surprise, the reigning champion. Is this a preview of the kind of thing we're going to see next season? Can Surprise be toppled in the World Championship? Some might argue it was a little bit too easy for him this season. Some drivers weren't consistent enough over the course. We've seen in the second half of the season people step it up a gear. Are we going to see that in the second half of the season? Is this how he's going to have to fight for victories as the season goes on? I certainly think so, James.
He will be. He will be fought like this, I think, next season. Absolutely. So many drivers also just joining the league as well, which just made it such a difficult task for him to win races. He may try and win this one as well, because down towards turn one goes Veloci Surprise. He's still closing on Simon, but he's still not quite close enough. It's just so frustrating to witness this at the moment. You feel like that Welshman should be long gone and past the McLaren at the moment, but Simon's doing a great job in managing to be able to just go that little bit later on the brakes, getting those better runs in the middle sector. He is really holding his nerve as we head onto lap 24 of 36.
I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying this battle. You just don't know which way it's going to swing. It's still as they were, these two. But I certainly think Surprise will be lining up a move at the end of this lap. I just feel he's ready to pounce. He's been waiting and waiting, and now I think is his opportunity. Perhaps as I say that, he drops back to around 4 and a bit tenths. Maybe not. It's just so finely balanced between these two as the Amazement picks up a 3-second time penalty, and as they sweep down the hill, it goes up to half a second again, and you start to think Simon might be able to fend off any charge from Surprise until the end of the race. Now going down that hill, this is one of the two best opportunities into the first corner to make a move on the circuit, and look at this, he's really starting to gain now, and Simon might feel the need to defend. Oh, look how close he got to making a move, and he couldn't quite do it, but surely Surprise now will feel the confidence from that, just how close he got to maybe now going through turn 3 and down towards the Esquina do Lago, try and make a move on Simon, but again he's hanging back, he's not close enough, he's in mode 0. It's all about down into turn 1. It looks like he's saving his battery for that particular attempt, James, at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, he seemingly, the line that I was saying about coming to the penultimate corner, Simon just went so deep into the penultimate corner there, just couldn't get the car stopped and ran so wide there. And that allowed Surprise to get much, much closer to the back of that McLaren. To be honest, he may have even been able to force the issue there, but just didn't want to wreck his race doing something like that. And that is the sheer class and intelligence of these drivers. They won't go for a move if they don't need to, and he doesn't need to at the moment. He's still got 11 laps to go. He's got plenty of time to get that move done, but that time is slowly decreasing in this race.
Yeah, it really is. It's a fantastic scrap at the moment between the pair. Still a battle. Simon, look at that, moving to the left-hand side of the circuit, already fearing the worst. A Surprise gains again going down to turn 1. Is he going to be close enough this time round? No, he's not. And maybe Simon there, darting to the left-hand side, breaking the toe, is what is helping him at the moment. Lap 26 out of 36. It's finely balanced. I'm interested to hear from you guys in the comments section. Who is going to come out on top? Do you think it will be Simon? Do you think it will be Surprise? Let us know. James, can you call it?
I can't call it at the moment. I think whoever wins this race does probably get the driver of the day, in all truth, because they've been absolutely spectacular, these two. They managed to pull away from the rest of the field when perhaps they didn't really expect to in many ways. These two have been quick all season long, but I never thought on lap 10 or so that these guys would be nearly 6 seconds up the road from their counterparts. But Surprise is really hotting up that back of that McLaren. He's just sizing him up. He's toying with him through this middle sector. Drelix sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, which will go down to the in the records, I suppose, but 1 minute 8.6. Let's see then what Surprise can do. He's not close enough on this occasion, I wouldn't have thought, as we head down towards turn 1.
Yeah, here he comes again, down towards the first corner. Not going to be on this occasion for Surprise, no doubt about it. Will he try and keep his ERS in 4 or 5 to go for a move down towards turn 4? Let's keep an eye on it on the left-hand side. He's going into mode 4. He's opened up the DRS. Maybe he feels it's time to try a different tactic. No, flicks back to mode 0, doesn't go for it, and just tucks himself up behind the back of Simon once again. So not much between them at the moment. Further down the order, Evo 6 seconds off the back of them, and I suppose when you've got a DRS train in front, it's difficult to gain, isn't it? So Evo looks pretty safe in third, but Evo very often likes to pounce on anyone picking up penalties, and Evo picks up the fewest of anyone when it comes to penalties most of the time. So if Simon or Surprise were to pick up a few, Evo will pounce. There's no doubt about that, James. He's super consistent when it comes to things like that, isn't he?
He definitely is, but it's so difficult around here to actually find yourself to get a penalty. So for that reason, I think that Surprise is just doing everything he needs to do. I don't think anyone in the top 3 or 4, maybe top 10, other than Rosberg, I think, has a penalty in this Grand Prix. It's been a pretty clean race in terms of penalties so far. Surprise or Simon don't have one at the moment. Simon doesn't need to defend as hard into turn 1 this time. Surprise just wasn't as close, but that ARS usage, what he's thinking about here, just putting in mode 0 down the middle sector, because he knows you're not going to be able to make any overtakes through there. It'd be wise to save your energy as you head through the middle sector. So I genuinely think he's kind of maybe just thinking about where he's going to make this move now. I think he's thinking, should I try the outside? He doesn't look, he's going to get around the outside of Simon. Simple fact of the matter is Simon's always there, so he's just going to have to be brave. He's going to have to get his elbows out if he's going to pass the McLaren ahead of him.
Absolutely, and maybe a little bit of mode 4 down the second straight at the end of that first sector as well would maybe propel him into making a move. We'll wait and see, but for now he is just waiting and waiting and waiting, not in a hurry yet, with 8 laps to go. TRL Limitless, 3-second time penalty picked up by him. He's got Merceau and Bastic within that range, so that's going to be a sore one for TRL Limitless, no doubt about that. If he was to continue to pick up penalties, a Surprise gains again as they cross the line to start lap 29 now, out of 36. He's really getting my batteries, or a charger of some sort. 2 minutes.
Let's see then, as we head down towards turn 4, what Surprise can do. As I say, he's just eking this gap out at the moment. A bit of a wild moment from Simon in the McLaren, just not being able to hold on to that rear end of the car as they slide through then turn 6. It's just so close between these two at the moment. It really is nip and tuck with 7 laps to go of this Brazilian Grand Prix. It could well be decided on the final laps of this one. Look how close he gets under braking through there. He's looking like he's going to size this move up for a penultimate lap lunge, or penultimate few lap lunge on the... Here we go then, just the grip. Surprise needs to be on it. He has... He's going to get this move done on the McLaren. It's going to be close between them. Let's see what happens as they head down towards turn 1.
Well, there we go. I'm back there. That was good timing, because it just died as soon as Surprise was going to go have a look into turn 1. Can I just ask a question? Can you use a charger to charge your batteries? Does that work? Please tell me that works, because I've not got any spare batteries. I hope it works. But anyway, does it?
I doubt it.
Well, it better work. Well, let's find out. 6 laps to hang on with no batteries. Pray to God that it works, as Veloci Surprise gains and gains and gains. Right onto the back of him. Yes, it's 2019 and I am using batteries. I know. Stuff the polar bears, etc, etc. I can see it in the chat. Yes. I'm not an Xbox user usually. I'm not usually an Xbox user. But anyway, let's get back down to the action. And Surprise, half a second behind. Is he going to do it? He's running out of time. But do you think he's too bothered about it, James? Do you think he's just waiting?
he's got a lot of ERS to go, so I think he's just playing with it wisely here. And it gets into these scenarios like now, because now he's really close, I think, because Darius is going to drag him along this pit straight. He's going to have a huge chance into turn one. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. Here goes Surprise then. Will he go for the move this time? Thinks better of it into turn one. It's just really is frustrating. It's so annoying to watch, because maybe... I mean, I'm nowhere near as good as these guys. I know exactly what they're doing, but as a neutral, you just want to see something just get thrown up the inside or just something happen between these two. I'm sure everyone in this chat as well is just thinking, where is this move going to happen? It's so close between them, but nothing's happening. So can Simon just hold on for 5 more laps of this Brazilian Grand Prix?
Oh, it's an exciting battle, I tell you that. You know what, we're waiting on Easter coming along, the Easter Bunny. I don't need the Easter Bunny, I need the Duracell Bunny coming in that front door right now with some batteries. But at the moment, hopefully, we can cling on to the finish without any. It's going to be Simon versus Surprise as they get really close. And Surprise, but looking like sliding the rear there. He's lost some time on this occasion, hasn't he?
He has, and he was massively, almost full lock to the left as he went through a right-hand corner there, and that's not really the sight you want to be seeing. He's not going to be close enough this time in towards turn one, and the way that this is going, and it's more like a Formula E race for you. Let's see what Veloce Surprise can do as we head towards turn one. Not again close enough on this occasion. It's very, very fine margin between these two, and there's nothing more you can say about that, just opposed to when Surprise will go for the move. Only one person knows when this move will happen, and he is the man who knows.
I know what's going to happen here. I'm going to end up looking like Pascal Wehrlein on the final lap, run out of power, and we're going to miss the final lap overtake, aren't we? That's just what's going to happen. Yeah, get a bet on it, folks. It's almost a certainty as Veloce Surprise gets really close now to the back of Simon on lap 32 out of 36. Joe, who of course is a really experienced driver, he retired early on in this race. He seems to believe that we'll see a move from Surprise with 3 laps to go. Thanks for the expert opinion, Joe. Thank you very much. You've joined me in the commentary box once before for a race around Brazil, and you gave us plenty of feedback there. Are you going to be spot on with this one? We'll find out as here comes Surprise as we're about to begin lap 33 out of 36. 4 tenths between them. Is he close enough on this occasion? DRS opening up on the Williams. Here he comes. Simon feels the need to defend. He senses the danger. Oh, moves back to the inside just before the braking zone. Surprise gives him a polite little nudge going through turns 1 and 2. And this is it. The race is on now. Simon is under pressure. He is really going to have to defend. And look at this. Surprise has kept it in mode 4. And there you go into the braking zone. Simon just about gets there in time. This is turning into a nail-biting race. Shredding the fingernails down at McLaren, down at Williams. What a finale we have on our hands here in the penultimate race of the championship.
Absolutely, just almost could get this car stopped in time. The Williams coming into turn 1 there. It was so close between them, and I can't believe that it wasn't almost a plane crash. Could well have been. They were so close. And now, Surprise, we've seen what he's capable of, and that was his best chance of this Grand Prix so far. And he will have to try a similar sort again here now. Simon gets a little bit squally on the exit of the long left-hander there, and once again on the left-hander through there again. Can Surprise find a way through against this McLaren? It's going to be close between them in towards turn 1.
Not on this occasion, I don't think so, James. I think he's too far back this time round. And another lap ticks by. Lap 34 out of 36. It's still Simon ahead of Surprise. We might not have the overtakes on the racetrack at the moment, but your fingernails are being shredded. The tension is growing here at Interlagos in the penultimate round of the championship. Will the world champion get it his way? Will he snatch the victory away from Simon? Or can Simon, a proven race winner, one of the quickest in terms of pace in this tier, show him up and prove that he is going to be ready for the fight next season when it arrives? We've not got long to go, just a few miles left, and it's going to be a fantastic finale. Don't go anywhere, folks. We saw it last season. Martin was a mile away from winning the championship. His tyre blew up. We might not see tyres blowing up today, but we could see some real fireworks on the racetrack come the flag. This is going to be fantastic. What about this occasion? Do you think he can do it, James?
It's all about this corner here, really. This is where they make or break their race. It looks so close between them this time around. I think this time he may have a good shot towards turn 1.
Here we go again. It's lap 34, round 34 in this Titanic heavyweight boxing match. Who's going to win into turn 1? Surprise is gaining. Is he going to send it? No, he's not. But the question is, if he gets that close again with the laps running out, will he go for it up the inside, James? Do you think he would risk it?
He has
would
to.
he go for a bold move like that?
He has to.
Yeah, with the championship decided, he's got nothing to lose. Is he going to do it now? Simon defends. No, he doesn't. He thinks about it, thinks better of it. Surprise stays behind, but you've got to feel with the laps ticking by, he's going to go for it, and you think he has to. Will he do it? I think so too.
He's got one more chance to do it if he's going to do it, because we've only got 2 laps to go, and he's only going to have to see turn 1 once more, and he's got to think that this is the lap. If all laps, if he's going to get this race win here, it's going to be so close on the final lap of this Brazilian Grand Prix.
Well, I'm hiding behind the sofa. I don't know about you. This is going to be our frantic finale. I've ran out of nails. That is it. This is going to be it. Can Simon get the exit he needs? This is the most important exit of the Grand Prix so far, and it looks pretty even to me, but I think Surprise is close enough. He's definitely got to run from there. That's about 3/10. That's closer than it's been at any moment in the race so far. Simon knows it. He defends the inside. Surprise, down the outside he goes. On the final lap, Simon covers it off for one more time. Is that the final hurdle negotiated? We'll find out as they sweep through turn 3 in the penultimate race of the season. Simon defending the inside. Surprise, the world champion, sweeping round the outside. Surprise tries. Simon breaks later, covers the apex off, and holds on for one more time. Surely, James, he's done enough now.
I've seen league races in ILR over the last kind of week or so of just how close and get towards the line. He's on the inside. Oh my goodness me, he went for it. He couldn't quite get it done. Goodness gracious me, that Williams is surely going to be thinking of an overtake now.
Oh, goodness gracious me, that was on the limit. He sent a missile up the inside. He couldn't quite do it. And surely now, CRG Simon is going to cling on for the victory. Surprise trying everything to put his rival off, but he has soaked up all the pressure all race long. CRG Simon is going to hold on in what has been a titanic scrap. In the penultimate race of the season, it's Simon with the samba dance in Brazil. He wins here in the penultimate race of the season. Surprise is second in a titanic scrap. CRG Evil comes across the line in third. A special mention to the amazement with the fastest lap at the end, up the ticks. It's going to be fourth for Snazzy Evening, who smashes his way over the line. It's fifth for Martin, and TRL Limitless is sixth on the road, but with penalties, drops behind both Haas drivers of WOR Murso and TSR Bastic. A bad day at the office for TRL Limitless, that's for sure. Thomas 9th, and 10th for Rosberg. Due to penalties, does he stay there? Yes, he does. And Jork comes home in 11th with an unserved stop go. You know what? We didn't have that many overtakes at the end of that Grand Prix, James, but we were kept on the edge of our seats throughout, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic scrap between Simon and Surprise, wasn't it?
Could breathe, because that was absolutely epic between those two. It really was. We didn't see the side by side, perhaps as maybe the viewers were hoping for, just constantly going side by side. It didn't matter, really did not matter, because they were just throwing that car around like a Kilkenny cat towards the end. The back ends of those cars just stepping out, could keep it in a straight line, and it was brilliant in the end from the top two. And if we've got anything to go for next season, I want to see more of that, because that was absolutely epic between the top two.
Loved it, loved it. I mean, I think most people in the chat, and I think I would certainly agree, I don't know about you, I thought Surprise was going to get him. I really did, and I think most people did as well, but hats off to Simon. He held on, he showed grit, determination, desire, and he got a deserved victory. My driver of the day, it's the Duracell batteries for hanging out. No, it's Simon. Well done to Simon on a great victory. James, run us through the order.
Yeah, so it is your winner today of CRG Simon, who takes the penultimate race win in Brazil ahead of Veloce Surprise in P2. Evo comes home to finish at a very respectable third place finish. Ed Snazzy Evening had a good race from 6th on the grid, finishes in 4th. Martin couldn't quite make up the remnants of qualifying to finish in P5. More so, finishes 6th ahead of his Haas teammate Bastek in 7th. Close again on circuit between those two. Limitless with penalties, finishes in P8, with Thomas will be happy with a 9th place finish for him. Now on the back of the grid in 17th place. And Ciro Rosberg rounds out the top 10. Jork is 11th. Amazement is 12th. Dralix is 13th. And we go to the non-finishers of Beefer, of Reynolds, of the Bacon Yum, of Melanie, and of course the big incident for MGS Joe saw him crash out just 3 corners into the race.
Yeah, what a race. Really, really enjoyed it. Exciting at the start. It was so close. It was so tight. You didn't know who was going to get the upper hand with that huge DRS strain. Then it broke out into a 2-horse race that went right to the wire. A fantastic penultimate race here in Brazil. The season might be drawing to a close, but the racing continues to excite as we go to the final race in Abu Dhabi. But after that breathless race, let's speak to the drivers. James, take it away with the race interviews.
Absolutely, and congratulations to CRG Simon. Nearly got your game tag wrong, which has been a bit of a mishap, but he managed to win today from pole position, and you've got to be quite happy with that result in many ways. The qualifying lap was great. You just picked Martin to pole. So did you think maybe he was going to fight you in the race today? Did you think there was going to be more cars challenging for the win?
The qualifying lap wasn't too great. And yeah, of course, I know Martin is very quick. I definitely expected him to be a threat all race long, and I don't know what happened. He fell off for some reason, and then Josh came through really fast and was at my back pretty much instantly. And yeah, I think I've never had a race where my heart rate was constantly that high, because he kept me on my toes. Is that what you say? All race. And yeah, it's just GG. I mean, that's all I can say.
How do you deal with almost, I don't want to use the word pressure, but it was pressure on you to just stay ahead in that race. So how could you manage that? Because Josh is obviously a very quick driver, so as are you, but it's different when they're constantly right behind you, isn't it? And just how were you able to defend for that long? Because it must have been, well, basically the whole race in many ways. After the virtual safety car, after the pit stop phase, it must have been a good 30 laps. You two were just pretty much neck and neck. So how did you just deal with that pressure throughout the entirety of a race?
What I said to myself for a race was just, keep calm. It's a pretty boring thing to say, but that's what I said to myself. I mean, do a mistake and your win is gone, and Josh has it. And I mean, if you're that close on pace, it's definitely impossible to break out of DRS. If the person behind doesn't make any mistakes, which he didn't. And so I was just trying to manage my ERS in the middle sector where you had dirty air. I just ran in none and lean, just can defend on the straight. And yeah, it just worked out. Towards the end, we battled a bit. I hope I stayed clean. I think I did. And yeah.
Yeah. So with the tyres, because we've known that the patches come in, did it play a big difference here today? Was it sort of similar, because the ballast may have been the reason it may have stayed a bit similar? So was the tyres feeling okay that race with temperatures through the roof?
The patches are a really big difference. Tire wears on some tracks probably won't even be an issue, tire temperatures, I mean. And on this track, pre-patched is a super soft run or super soft first, and wouldn't have been possible, no way. Like, you maybe could have gone 5 laps, but that's it. And yeah, it definitely made a huge difference. You know what? The medium wasn't really overheating. It was more the actual tire wear that actually got me in trouble a bit towards the end. But I'm just glad the tire didn't explode.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the win. Great drive from yourself. Let's move to Josh in P2. And Josh, it was, starting fourth on the grid. It was quite risky in the sense that you couldn't get the second run in qualifying. So were you happy with fourth in the end? On the grid, of course, not the race.
No, completely bottled qualifying, and I was really nervous. Not nervous, but yeah, I would say nervous for the race, because I had Joe and Martin ahead of me. Obviously quick drivers, but I still felt Simon would have pulled away and just got a comfortable win. So I made it my mission to get past them as quick as possible. Fortunately for me, Joe just spun off something or something like that, and I was past him. And then once I was past Martin, it's just I had to stick in Simon's DRS. Being the car behind at this track, in some ways is a disadvantage with the dirty air through the middle sector, and then in some ways is an advantage on the straights, and obviously saving tyres in the RS. And the plan was to make a move like somewhere near the end, but unfortunately the left-hander going onto this the main straight, the dirty air through there was horrible, and every lap it'd be like the last sector Simon would pull away 5, even 6 tenths, and then by the time I got onto the straight, slipstream plus DRS, well, as you would have saw, it was just about not enough to make a comfortable move. I'd have to go for a lunge or something like that, which I didn't really want to go for any dive bombs, unfortunately for the stream, but yeah, good race by Simon and Evo. It could have been even closer, but Evo couldn't catch up because the slipstream from Simon was just pulling me along. But yeah, good race.
Yeah, well, it was a bloody brilliant race in all due respect. So, I mean, the final few laps, of course, you said, I mean, it was getting really close between you two, and I was saying in commentary as well how that final corner in many ways was pretty much the deciding factor in whether you were going to get past him or not. But it got really close. The last lap lunge, for example, was that always it wasn't a lunge, but it was probably the best opportunity for you. So it took you a fair while to get into the position to get the overtake done. Did you feel confident at that point? I mean, it's hair and scary moment, but was there that slight moment coming out that final where you thought, actually, this time I might have him?
I think there was one lap. I think it was the final lap where I went to the outside. That didn't work. I tried to go for the switchback, and that didn't work either. And yeah, it was just a case of could I get close enough in the third sector. I feel like if I was like even 3 tenths behind on the straight, I would have got past comfortably. But the fact that it was 5 to 6 tenths, it made it that right at the end of the straight coming into turn 1, I was right behind him where I wasn't alongside, and going into the braking zone, I wasn't risking outbraking myself or hitting into him. So yeah, it was kind of not as aggressive as I wanted to be, but yeah, it is what it is.
Absolutely, and congratulations on, or commiserations, however you want to look at it, as I always say, on second place. Evo, I think, disconnected from the party, so I don't think we'll be hearing from him today. But interesting, Andy, top 2. I would say nervous. I mean, it sort of plays on my mind after listening to those two, both sort of suggesting that it was a bit of a nervy race in the end. But, I mean, your final thoughts, really?
Well, first of all, no Evo. His mic's playing up some issues, so we won't have him for the interviews. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a different kind of race. We like when we get something a little bit different, don't we? You sometimes see action every lap, great racing, but we had something to build up to. And on the final lap, we saw some fireworks. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And all of this building up for next season, all this exciting drama. And I think it's going to be a good one when next season arrives. I know all the drivers are, all excited for next season. That's what they want to get ready for. Only one race to go, and then we can focus on that. And enjoyed the race today. And it should be a cracker next season when it arrives. And of course, the final race of the season next weekend, the usual time, 7:30 on Friday night. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Quickly, you guys enjoy Abu Dhabi? You looking forward to that one?
Well, I'm on a skiing trip all week, so probably have like an hour of practice.
Okay. So skiing,
We'll see.
a skiing trip, interesting. Well, you won't be skiing in Abu Dhabi, that's for sure. That's one thing for sure. And Josh, one you're looking forward to?
No, motivation will probably be at an all-time low.
Okay.
Yeah, if Simon doesn't have that much practice, then maybe I'll go for it.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure James is too. It should be a cracker. Be sure to join us next week, as I said, usual time, 7:30 on Friday night for the final race of the season. Simon's going to be skiing around the track. Let's see how it goes for him. Be sure to tune in next week at 7:30. Good night.